has read already. She had already read the message.
No big deal. She can come in anytime. I will see her. I may not notice it right away, but I will see her come up on the screen. Okay. Sorry about that. We are live, sir. Would you like to do an introduction for day 2 of Geophysics in Ecuador 2021, sir?
Okay. Well, with the background of what we talked yesterday, today I think we can talk about more specific things like methods applied in Ecuador, why they must or must not be applied in Ecuador. Uh, do you think the survey that we have here in Ecuador is complete, is useful? You must do terrestrial geophysics. I think we could talk about more specific things like Z-Team or MTM mobile, as you told me. How we could use this.
Sorry, I'm still struggling. This is my first day with a new job. I apologize. Uh,
That's okay.
so listen, you were talking about so many good things, and I think the best way to do this is just to grow our friendship around discussing this stuff. Like as we said yesterday, we don't really know each other. Yesterday was the first time we've spoken. You
Mhm.
have talked about so many things. So and unfortunately, I have lived my life trying to figure out the answers to the questions you just talked about, and it's embarrassing, but it's true. So where do we start? So first of all, let's say that we welcome other people. They can find you or I on LinkedIn or the WhatsApp Ecuadorian mining chat, which you have direct access to. Um, let's you made some really cool points, and one of us should be writing some of this down, I guess. Your question that flowed to, do you do down follow up ground geophysics, for example? You know, that's exactly the type of thing. That's exactly the type of tool I want the typical Ecuadorian exploration geologist just to know. You know, do I have apparent resistivity high? Do I have apparent resistivity low with my geology? What does UTEM, what does ZTEM do? Do they have competition? What do I expect from the client even? What is there? Because there are very many different things. This isn't the same thing as going out and sending people on a soil sampling expedition, bringing back the soils, and you know choosing the different geophysical application isn't the same as choosing a different laboratory. you
Mhm.
know sure, one laboratory may be better, may be faster, may be cheaper, whatever the criteria, but it's not the same service provided in geophysical contractors, even if they tell you they're analyzing your soil in that metaphor. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So um that anyway, so you have a lot of good points there. The point that you made yesterday that got my attention made me draw this slide, and I sent you this morning. Okay,
Yes.
so your question that got my attention was, wow, I didn't even know the difference between natural field and controlled source field for looking for stuff. So I'm going to talk for a couple seconds, and I'm going to use a metaphor that I have used for decades. And when you get confused, you just interrupt. All right.
Okay.
Let's pretend the Earth is 99% granite,
Mhm.
and within that granite, we place conductive, massive sulfide in bits and pieces. Mine size, smaller than mine size, etc. Okay, but that's the only two things we have. We have the buried pieces of mine or full mines, as you can, as a geologist, can imagine any type of conductive massive sulfide or heavy sulfide deposit in the ground. So what do we do? Well, we used to do a lot of different things, but what can we do today, 2021 in Ecuador? All of the pictures that we see in this diagram represent how you would use electromagnetic radiation energy to find these buried pieces of pieces or mines within that granite host that is the entire world. Why do
Hmm.
we pick a granite host? Because geophysics is based on contrast. Okay, so granite, pristine, beautiful, silica-rich, hard stuff, doesn't like electricity. Electricity doesn't stay there very well. It likes to go to those pieces of mine buried within it. And then those pieces of mine shine, or in the metaphor that I like to use, they ring like bells. And the longer, the louder they ring, and the length of their ring is what we measure. We don't really measure the size. We can't measure the type. We can't measure the shape of the bell too much at all. We can tell pretty much the depth and if it's a good bell or a bad bell, but all we really measure is how loud that bell is and how long it rings for. And in that, and have you heard that terminology like decays and stuff like that before?
Yes,
So did that analogy make sense to you?
yes, a lot.
Okay, so there are three ways we can look at this now, and I'll go from what is probably least important now, but was very important in the development of geophysics. So, and that is called the frequency domain. And
Hmm.
there are numerous different type of things that are frequency domain, but basically, when you pick my bell and my granite analogy, what you do is you turn on a big transmitter and it just disturbs the entire area. But luckily, it disturbs the bells more. So you fly over and you read this field, and then you have to go back to the shop and you have to remove your original field to find out what is left over. Does that make any sense? So if there are no buried bells or no pieces of mine buried in my granite, I will go turn my signal on. I will energize the ground. I will go do my survey. I'll come back to my office and I will subtract where and when I took that signal. I'll subtract that of where and when I received that signal. And if there's nothing there, it'll be zero.
Hmm.
If there's something there, then there will be a response that will show you that that material subsurface liked electricity more than the granite. And hopefully that's a rule that we can use, right?
When you talk about the frequency domain, is the
Mhm.
same frequency and time domain than IP?
Frequency domain and time domain are terms of physics and mathematics,
Hmm.
best described for me in fast Fourier transform. That talk about things bigger than geophysics. It can be in math, it can be medical, it can be everything. You know, it's got nothing to do with geophysics. It's just a coincidence that these are two leaves on a tree of physics. This is You can find the time domain and frequency domain everywhere, right?
Because when I started to read about IP, uh, there were two domains, as you told. The delay that takes this ore body to retain this electricity and then get back to the receptor. So
Well,
that's the chargeability.
well, listen. As you obviously have an interest in IP, let's talk about that because that is a nice
No,
way to look.
I was just
No,
asking
no, but
because
no, no. Listen, I can tell you exactly because that is a perfect example of how time domain and frequency domain dominated the birth of a science that we call induced polarization.
uh-huh,
And I sent you two. If this ever becomes material for people to learn from, you have there's source material for this, or the two files I sent you earlier.
mhm,
And in the leading edge 2007 maybe a file that talks about, it's not a technical paper, it's just the history of IP, for
Yes.
example. The difference between frequency domain and time domain were controlled the development of IP as much as computer advancement. And I'll give you
Yeah.
an example. There was a guy named Phil Helloff, okay, who had a company called McFar Geophysics. And what is interesting about the frequency domain? Well, frequency domain doesn't need much energy. If I just want to shoot my target with one frequency, 1 hertz, 10 hertz, 10,000 hertz, I don't need expensive equipment. I can do something, and I have to, I've got to develop that signal as well and as powerful as I can. But I'm only worried about one frequency. Well, what does that mean? You can think about um, the frequency domain. There, in that cosine wave of 1 hertz, we have one frequency and we have one amplitude.
Hmm.
Wow. So in the frequency domain, I can put up, if I put I should be doing this. If I put frequency on the lower axis and I put amplitude of that frequency, for example, on this axis, I can go boom. That's a one single cosine wave of one frequency.
Hmm.
Well, now let's pretend that the power you need to generate that waveform to look for mines is the area under that curve. Poof, I've got 1 point. There's almost no area. My energy is really easy.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, well, what does the time domain look like in the frequency domain? That thing is full. There's a name for the curve. We can look it up, but it's basically full of black area filled in that curve. Yeah, I'm getting too deep into this wormhole. Anyway, it takes a lot more energy. It takes a lot more energy to do a time domain waveform of 1 hertz or 30 hertz than it does to create the same waveform, single hertz, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. There's a whole bunch of differences there, but the reason I started this, Phil Halloff was wanted so badly to go explore. He had a tool, so he went to explore with that, and he did an amazing stuff. And I had the honor to work with him in 1989 in Reno for a while. And like a lot of the research that's based today on IP, the dipole array, it was his idea. You've heard of the dipole array. So these guys were a generation well ahead of me. Uh, um, uh, uh, and they were trying to figure out how to do this, not to fight about which is the best way, which is sort of impressive. The Syntrex company was a time domain company, and so I've witnessed, they used to have discussions about which is better, and it was really fun for me to grow up as to watch this as the first the trunk of the tree in IP with frequency domain and time domain. Sorry about that rant. That was crazy. Anyway. But it's a very important thing. Now, so those are two ways we can look at the ground. But one thing about the time domain and the frequency domain in that context is that we are transmitting a signal into the ground. And most of the EM done by airborne today, I imagine, in Ecuador, is they don't use that transmitter. They don't care if
Okay.
it's they just listen to the earth.
Hmm.
Hmm. Isn't that weird? Well, what do they do? So they listen to the natural field of the earth. Where does that go? Well, people talk about lightning strikes and solar interference and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of electrical signal that we don't know about in the earth. I'm going to put up a different slide here. Can you read that at all?
Yes.
So I put this all these slides I've had on my LinkedIn. So this is a frequency bandwidth, okay? So this
Hmm.
is very low frequency, minus third, and this is high frequency, okay? And the actual frequency notations are here just for interest, okay? But what is important here? What is important? We have weird gamma, X-ray, UV, visible light, AM, FM, EM induction, which is the joke of my slide. because these are all have EM induction, right? VLF, AMT, MT, etc., etc. All of these things are the same thing. Okay, so it's very funny to me that, and that's why I say, almost tongue in cheek, geophysics is witchcraft, because a person will spend their life here and think that they're the best, you know, when it's a solid solution of what you can do. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now it's even a little more complicated because these frequencies, all right, these frequencies can be in the time domain or the frequency domain. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have all these frequencies in the time domain, let's say, because the natural Earth, the natural fields existing around the Earth, let's call that the time domain. All right. We're measuring it per time. The heck, voltage per time. So where does that come in? Well, that comes in way down here. Okay. So here is magnetotellurics is what MT stands for. Is that a term that you recognize?
Yes.
Okay, and this A just stands for a band of the they call it the audio band of that, and then you have VLF. Have you heard of VLF?
Very low frequencies.
Yeah. Do you know the history of that a little bit? I wonder where the closest. These were submarine stations set up during the Second World War, so the submarines could communicate.
Okay.
So which is sort of cool because the submarines were conductors, and it's very interesting science. So basically, if you ever have to look for a buried submarine, use VLF.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to make a joke. So anyway, I'm not too sure where we were going here. We're talking about natural field. Let's I forget where we were. Do you have any questions so far? I know I'm just rambling here. Sorry.
Z team
Yes,
measures apparent resistivity of the ground. That's the result.
that's a great question. That's so these frequencies are EM radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Like light is EM radiation. Okay. X-rays are not funny, crazy particles. They're just EM radiation at higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. VLF is not a different thing. It's just lower frequency. Okay. So when you can measure how fast this EM energy flows through material, you calculate the apparent resistivity. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
you can calculate the apparent resistivity in controlled source, right? You know what you push out, you know
Mm-hmm.
what you receive, the difference, blah, blah, blah. This is the velocity, etc. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it in natural field.
Mm-hmm.
Natural field is maybe not, it may be made counterintuitive, but let's just say for now that the ZTEM and the MT mobile measure the same natural field, and they calculate not only where the velocity of the field. The ZTEM is a bit different because it really only sees the ground when you have something there, if that makes any sense. But both are calculating how fast the EM radiation is flowing through the earth. And this is counterintuitive. Here, I'll ask you, what do you think is quicker with electricity flowing through it? A granite or massive sulfide?
The energy will flow faster in the muscle fight.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you that that's not really correct? And I'll
Uh,
tell you why. I'll tell you why. Ready?
mm-hmm.
Because we're not touching the ground here. We're using induced fields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Faraday's law says that I can wiggle something in something and get a voltage, right? Are you familiar with Faraday's law?
I don't remember actually.
Well, if you have a conductor in a moving field and then you get a voltage in that conductor, or if you have a stationary field and you move the conductor, etc. So we
Mm-hmm.
know that we can get what we can do is we can tell what's going on with the velocity of the Earth using, and not touching the Earth. But what you have to think about the energy is counterintuitive. And let's think of it this way. Now let's go back to the bell analogy in graphite. Think of it this way. When we pass by this area of bells and granite, the energy does not want to stay in the granite. It wants to stay and live as long as it can in the bells. So counterintuitively, the energy actually goes through and dissipates faster in the granite than the bells. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's a really important point, and a lot of people think of it the wrong way, because like frequency domain, time domain. Well, there's a whole way to divide geophysics: touch the Earth and not touch the Earth, right? So there's different ways you have to look at this. Okay, so that's a pretty good point, if that makes sense. Okay, do you have any questions up to here so far?
No, but just a comment that in some ways could be a little confused. The term "how faster does the energy flux," or is the bell or the ore body capable of conduct this energy? So that's why some people could think that the flux will be faster in the body that could permit the flux of this electricity. Hello?
Sorry, I pressed my mute button there. I apologize.
Okay.
My wife would love that button. You know that, eh? What this point that we just talked about, the where the electricity wants to be in the Earth, is a university level point that might not be made in many universities. So it's something we should remember. Okay.
Yes.
Let's remember it with a moment of silence. Good idea. Okay. So we don't have any questions. So let's. I know that. So now we're actually at 22 minutes here. This is, but I'm having. Are you okay to continue talking? So let's just go back to simple stuff, because I love the way our natural flow goes. Hopefully, you'll learn how to shut me up soon. So here we go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 things that you might see flying over your head if you're in an exploration belt in Ecuador. There are more things, but these are the 3 things that we're talking about in this discussion. And these are, I just dumped these off the webpage this morning. Can you see any of this? Is it large enough?
Yes.
Like, so this is SkyTem. Okay. SkyTem, and this is VTem. So this and this, or the upper half of this, is controlled source EM. This guy, and it's very cool, because if you actually saw this in Ecuador, you could tell it was VTem, because you can see that there's an actual generator here. So if you were close enough to see this apparatus, you would see that there's a generator right here.
Yes.
Okay. And that's one of the selling points, I believe, SkyTem, because these guys use the engine, I believe, to push this and this, which is the transmitter. So that is the tool that produces the signal to go find the bells. Okay. And then it rings out. And then here is the receiver. So this, and SkyTem is time domain, I'm quite sure. This would listen for the bells. Okay. Here, and they have a magnetometer here, if you can read that.
Yes.
So there's a whole bunch of things that they mess around with here. Okay. But basically, it's a transmitter that rings the ground, and then the receiver measures what the ground sends back. Okay. Here, this is the geotech system for controlled source. All right. You can see a very similar thing. And I'm sure that they will both argue whose generator is better and all that stuff. But that's what this looks like. Okay. Now, what is interesting, these are controlled source. So these, when we're looking for bells, but we're bringing our own hammer. Okay.
Mhm.
Here, this picture and this picture, this is the Geotech ZTEM antenna, the most recent that I could find. And I'm sure Jean Legault will send me a better picture. But this is what I could find quickly. But you'll notice that this is just the receiver. So now, see
Mhm.
how this is represented here? This is not another transmitter. This thing has been replaced by this. This is just to measure voltage.
Mhm.
Okay, so that should give you an idea. Although there's not much scale here, these might be some type of runway because those are mountains, hopefully Everest. You know, and this is the Expert Geophysics MT Mobile ball. So
Okay.
this thing does exactly. He'll kill me for this. This thing does exactly what this does. Okay,
Mhm.
that's not true. And I'm not going to get involved with plugging different service providers. They're welcome. Oh, we
Mhm.
have a person here. I just came here. Hang on. Let's see if that works.
There's Francis.
I think so. I think I may have her muted. Do I have her muted? Hi, Francis.
Hi, good
Hey,
morning.
hey, how are you doing? You're very late to
Fine.
class. You're very, you're very
Yes, I
late.
don't know because when you send the link, I go in, but I couldn't enter. I think that next I couldn't enter with the computer. I was trying to enter with my cell phone.
It's okay. Listen,
Okay.
we were very happy that you showed up. Okay, but you're going to have to watch the video. We're not going to repeat ourselves. I'm just,
Okay.
I'm just joking. So I'm sorry, Jose. Where were we? Oh, we were talking about this.
MTM.
This is the Expert MT Mobile unit. So you can see how can this little thing compete with this big thing? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that's a really dumb way to put it, but a smart way to put it. Oh, I may. Oh no, there she is. A better way to put it is antennas, and that's what these are. These are antennas listening to electrical noise in the ground. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
That's what that is. That's what this is. This is an antenna looking for electrical noise in the ground. This one and this one, it's natural electrical noise.
Mhm.
This one and this one, it's noise that they make during the survey.
Mhm.
Okay. But how do we get this little thing to measure what this beautiful big antenna must measure? But that being said, I can tell you that the history of these two companies, as I know it, and I don't know much of it, that this basically is one of the first generations of this technology, and apparently this is technology that has been developed 10 years later, and that's all I know about it on that
Okay.
level. Okay, but that's anyway. So that's what's going on there. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you see these things flying, you won't know what company they're flying for example, but you'll know what geophysical company is doing the technology.
Mhm.
Okay, so there you go. Uh, oops, on the wrong page. Jose, help me out. Where do we go?
Uh, I think uh, we could plan a next lesson.
What do you think what do you think? What did we touch on today that would make sense to talk about?
Um, I think could be being more specific or going inside or more inside about IP, or if you have examples, uh, how does this works in the real world.
Okay,
Uh,
let me.
I mean the flux of the taking the data.
Yep. Let me. This obviously we're recording my stream here. Let me go. Oh no, here I have to go this way. I believe. So a lot of stuff since November, I have been putting stuff up on my LinkedIn page.
Mhm.
So you are welcome to go through my LinkedIn page. This is a real picture, by the way. I don't know if you believe that. That is a real picture. So, pardon me. Oh my goodness, that's a real picture 4 times. So when we get down to, okay, for example, this is a month ago, but what this is now I have to blow our own horn a bit here because Insight Geophysics is my company, okay?
Mhm.
And Insight Geophysics was born out of a branch of geophysics and geophysical history that and I apologize for using this, but these are this is the Francis, this is the terminology we were using earlier. So what you're looking at right now is you have to touch the ground. Okay, it's electrical, it's not inductive as the airborne we've been talking about.
Mhm.
This line here is 2 kilometers long. This is 600 meters deep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 meters deep. This is, if you look up where Timmins, Ontario is, this is the same sort of model as, what would be a good example? Well, any of the mines up there, but this is Michaud Township in the Nighthawk lightning zone area, pardon me. So this is, so we had to walk along the ground and do this. Okay. This map, I believe you can get this map from the aircraft today. Okay. This one here, the apparent resistivity, as we discussed with Jose a while ago, the apparent resistivity is the measure of the velocity of energy through the ground. And we talked about how it is slower in conductive units and faster in resistive units, which is counterintuitive, but that's the point that we can always go back to. So we can do this from the ground today. And we're doing this in Ecuador, and we're doing this deeper than this today. But what we're not doing in geophysics is getting this map. So this is exactly the same cross section. This is the apparent resistivity or the velocity of light in the ground, or what it also directly correlates to, Jose, for your DCI, for your induced polarization portion of the talk, we can talk about, is that map represents mostly the geologic competence of that section. Is that a term that you would use in geology?
Yes.
Okay, so in this section, we would think this white is much more competent than this material here, for example. Okay, and what's interesting about this, before I get down here, this is Archean geology. Okay, in the Timmins, the Heart of Gold, Porcupine Dester Fault area, and this is infilled. This was a fault that was infilled with silica, and it was made hard again. Okay, so this layer here is up to 50 meters of clay. Here is a fault that was filled in with silica and rehardened. And this, we didn't know anything from the apparent resistivity. But luckily, not only do we get the velocity of the energy in the ground, and Jose, I'm going back to an analogy we talked about earlier today. This is a map of the ringing bells. Oops. Is that me? Hello. Buenos dias.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Bring them in. And you know what? Maybe and maybe Jose, we can close off here, and then I'll send you an email.
Oh,
What we can do? What happened?
hello.
Oh, there we are. Oh, someone told you weren't on. Hi, how are you doing? Where are you in Quito? Where are
Yes,
you?
in
Okay,
Quito.
very good. Okay, I am in Burlington, Ontario right now, but my wife is in Quito at this current time. So
Oh.
hopefully I'll be in Quito eventually. If she invites me, you never know. Hey, and thank you for joining. That's really nice. And tell your friends, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get some information out to especially junior geologists, so we can talk about what people are talking about. I'm going to do this in English because the people that you need to convince that you know this stuff will be speaking English. If you have any questions, you're welcome to talk in Spanish or Portuguese. My Portuguese is better than my Spanish, but I can kill both. Trust me. Jose, maybe you can tell and it's Francis, right? I've got your name right.
Yes, Francis.
Better look. Yes, Francis. Jose, maybe you can explain that bottom section there quickly with the bell analogy. Are you able to do that?
Yes, I think. Bueno, Francis.
Hey, hablas español si quieres. No importa.
Okay. Francis, en la mañana, o bueno, hace poco, David me dice que él siempre usa esta analogía, esta metáfora para explicar qué es lo que el ZTM, los métodos electromagnéticos miden, ¿no? Entonces dice que imaginemos que la Tierra es un granito y tenemos como campanitas de sulfuro metidas ahí en ese granito, y que el objetivo es pasar el avión por esa gran masa de granito y, bueno, detectar en sí la geofísica, el contraste que hay entre el granito y estas, por así decirlo, campanas que van a ser las conductoras, ¿no? Entonces, por eso hacía analogía a esta sección de que como la resistividad aparente, que sería el granito, está ahí como background, y luego tienes tú las campanitas, que son las que van a tener otra resistividad, ¿no? Y cómo, bueno, y la pregunta fue, ¿en qué cuerpo tú crees que la energía será más rápida, en la campanita o en el granito? Entonces, bueno, ahí yo me equivoqué, yo dije, bueno, será en el cuerpo conductor, no en la campanita. Pero claro,
sorry to interrupt. Maybe it's the way I would say that in English, because it is, as we discussed, it's a confusing point. Let's say that the energy likes to stay where it can be conductive. Does that make more sense?
Okay, yes.
You know, it's like in this map here, in the bottom map, the energy, the electricity likes to stay where it is warm. That's a dumb thing to say, but that's true. Okay. So this electricity staying here and ringing like the bell, okay, in here was very interesting, because we had no idea there were any bells here.
Where the resistivity is high.
Yes, right? Here. Yeah. White is high.
Okay.
Yeah, white is high. So this is the Dester Porcupine Fault that was broken at one time, but then resealed with silica. So if it was still broken, it would be red. But because the silica has come in to heal things, and remember, this is Archean geology. This has nothing to do with the age of Ecuador, yeah?
Okay.
Like these are different things. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I've interrupted you. Sorry, Jose. But we had no idea that there was anything interesting here with the apparent resistivity or from the aircraft that we were showing. The aircraft would have showed us this bump, which is the magnetics. You see that? There's the magnetic response of that area. So we would have known the aircraft today, these aircraft, any of these guys here, would have given us this map here, and I believe they do a good job. And Jean Legault is talking about my opinion of their work. He talked about it at KEGS 2021, and he's going to talk about it at SEGS 2021. And I believe that the airborne geophysical companies can do this level of work now. But unfortunately, they can't give you any of this information. Okay, they can give you the mag, of course. So I would, as a geophysicist, I would have said, well, yeah, here you have clay on top, and you have some type of break that looks weird, and you've got a big depression here, but then there's nothing here. And then I would have said, oh, whoops, maybe there's something there because there's a mag bump. But I would not have had any of this information. Okay, and then we say the same thing here. So what we saw here is now we have a relationship of the apparent resistivity or the competence, or in your Ecuadorian terms, lithology in this map, maybe alteration pattern, maybe that's what you have here. And here you have capacitance or bell or battery material. Okay, so this is a bell that rang loudly and for the longest on this property. This entire unit is a weak bell, but it's big. And there are parts of this that are same material, for example, same bell-like material, stronger and weaker in that section. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I promise you, I have, just on my LinkedIn, I have many of those. I made a hummingbird. One of my favorite words in Portuguese is beija-flor. I just love that word. It's just crazy for me. This is me in 1985, so I have some geologic experience. This is me in 1986, maybe, who knows? Sorry. That's not mine. That's me in 1987, 88. There's the same map. My goodness. Oh, I guess it repeats with comments. Oh, I know I kept you, Jose. This is another thing we can talk about. This was posted a month ago. This is induced polarization looking for massive sulfides in the ring of fire. Okay? So first of all, you're not supposed to be able to find massive sulfides with IP, right? Or do we know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, you're not supposed to be able to find massive sulfides with IP. So that's a good thing you don't know that. It's a bad habit. This is interesting. This is ground mag versus drone mag. Okay, this line here is topography. Okay. Mm-hmm. The red line is a guy walking with the machine on this topography getting the data. This green line is a drone that was flown 70 meters above. So if you can see, there's a big difference between drone mag and ground mag. And so if you're looking for small, shallow things, your drone mag will never find it. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing we can talk about.
Yes.
Anyway, go to my LinkedIn page if you want. I guess this is confusing with all of the comments, but go to my LinkedIn page, and anything that you see there, I will talk about. And this will be the last one, but this is a good example because this is where geophysics is today. Okay, and I did this. I hate to say it, what year I did this in? Probably 2006. Anyway, this is one thing that we can talk about: modeling. Right? We all know about modeling. This is a geologic model that a geologist gave me. There's red, there's blue, there's green, and all that has different characteristics geophysically. Okay, that's what modeling is all about. We have to pick some numbers and guess sometimes. Okay, so but I do. Oh my goodness, how does this work? Sorry about that. This is not first day. Oh, that was not the button I wanted. Let's escape. Let's not escape.
Press Control and the scroll of your mouse.
Oh, of course. Yes. Two. No. Is that going the right way? Wrong way. Reset. How's that sound?
Yes.
There we go. Anyway, I've lost that. I'll go down. But what that was is before I went to the project, the geologist told me what his idea was for the project. And I took that idea and I put it in the modeling of the UBC 2D electrical array modeling program. Okay. I'm not going to find that. And I said to the geologist, this, if we go to your project, this is what I think we are going to see. And I'm just going to run back this. So I did that way before we even got to his project. Okay. The geologist and I were talking about the geophysical response to his property a month or and a half before we got there. It is there. I don't know if that'll blow up. Okay. So this is what we talked about. This is what I said my geophysical survey could do. This is the real result. Now, I don't know if you can see that well or care, but that is a very, very good result. And what we did is we labeled that this contact here is the 2-duct gabbro contact. And this, and I can prove to you in other videos that contact is the level of gold mineralization for that PGM deposit, platinum group metal deposit on the north shore of Lake Superior. So that's what we can talk about as well. You can give me a geologic picture, and then I can tell you, or I have friends that can do it with the aircraft information as well. If you have a geologic picture, I can tell you what they or I will expect to see when we go do that survey. And that's really important because the geologic model is paramount. We have to be in the right area. We have to be in the right ballpark, as we say in English, and then we can use geophysics to help us out. But there's a lot of tools that I would like to expose to Ecuador and people like yourselves.
Francis, estás el micrófono está apagado.
Sorry, I was talking alone. David, do you need the geological model to use the aircraft?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Yes, you always need to have the geological model previous to use the aircraft.
That's an excellent question. Okay, that's an excellent question, and I'll give you an example. Okay, and the way I like to work, for example, is I just did some consulting for a company, and I took the data from the aircraft, and I did not take any of the geologic information except I took the topography, right? And because I looked at it saying, these guys understand the geology, they don't understand the geophysics, so I am going to look at the geophysics 100% only, and I'm going to come up with an answer, and then we're going to apply that to the geology. Because even if I was an amazing expert and knew the answer, why would I influence their geologic reasoning without giving them the geophysics as well? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I can tell you that it is my experience, and as I said before, maybe it was yesterday to Jose, your geology is much simpler in age and structural and lithologic presentation than what I am most familiar with. And geophysics can really help you with some basic questions. And I hope, and I really hope that you guys, thank you for showing this interest. Please come up with some questions. I'll talk, if you guys want to email me questions that we can talk about, but I'm willing to do this any day at 9 a.m. Toronto time with whomever, because my objective, and I apologize for doing it in English, but the people that you need to tell that you understand geophysics will be talking English. And let's prove then that Ecuador has geophysicists too. How's that sound?
Okay. Yes, I don't know if you remember, David, but when you publish your post, your job on LinkedIn, I email you. I don't know if you remember.
I didn't remember your name. I remembered your name, but I didn't remember if you were the person that emailed me or responded on LinkedIn. Did you respond on LinkedIn or did you email me?
No, by email.
Yes. No, so I remember you perfectly. And can I tell you that you were the only person that answered that properly?
Yes, because on LinkedIn maybe ask you to apply by LinkedIn. That's what the people do that.
If you read that LinkedIn told you specifically that I would not answer a LinkedIn contact, and everyone responded with LinkedIn. So I did not even respond to them, but I did respond to you because I did respond to you, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but I only responded to you because, I remember even now, because before you emailed me, you sent a friendship thing, connect thing on LinkedIn.
Yes, I think so.
And I didn't accept because I was going to make sure you were following the instructions.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, I hope you guys, think about what you need. I have anything to offer with geophysics. I don't know. Francis, do you have a background in geophysics, for example? This is being taped, right? So if you don't want to say anything, let me know.
Yes, of course. I am a physical engineer.
Oh, okay. So did you study in Ecuador?
No, I study in Venezuela.
Oh, very good. Okay. Yes. So you're Venezuelan or you're from Ecuador?
I'm from Venezuela, but I'm living in Ecuador. And yes, I was working here with electrical resistivity tomography. I have worked with that. It is the biggest experience that I have here in Ecuador.
And that was out of the office in Montesarin?
Yes, I have gone to the field, of course.
Yeah, but in Montesarin, in the part of Quito, where the IIGE office is.
Monteserrin.
Oh, Monteserrin.
Monteserrin.
No.
Okay, well there's that resistivity equipment exists there as well, and that's what I thought maybe you were using.
No, I was using a Super Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that?
There's one at the IIG warehouse in Quito.
Okay.
I've seen it. I've touched it.
Okay.
I know it's there. Yeah. Anyway, let's make sure. Tell your friends if this is interesting. And I offer. I'm not scared of having Spanish discussion, but I think it's an advantage for us to do this in English because.
Yeah. I haven't used anything with aircraft, so for me it's very interesting.
You what? Sorry, what was your first part?
I haven't used aircraft. I haven't processed information from aircraft. I haven't.
Oh, you haven't
anything about. Yes, for me it's very interesting.
I don't know if this is public yet. I guess it's not public yet, but what can I do? What can I do? I can ask you guys, what software do you have available to you?
I have Geosoft.
Oh, you have Geosoft. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. You just unleashed the dragon there, my friend. What data would you like to look at? And you can say almost anything you want.
Whenever, I think tomorrow on Friday.
No, but I will send you a database now. You can look at it in Geosoft, and then tomorrow we can talk about it.
Okay,
So
thanks.
what?
That would be nice.
Pick a flavor. My goodness, you
Yeah.
have no idea how many ice cream you have to choose from. And I will not send anything private. All right, I will not send
Okay,
anything to
sure.
get you in trouble. I will not send you anything to get you in trouble. But I can do. I can. What's the easiest thing for me to do? I sent you that long report I wrote, right?
Yeah, sure.
No, I sent you that report that was just like 300 stupid pages. Okay, you know what? Think about, so let's pick IP. All right.
Mhm.
Maybe IP in the Dominican Republic. How's that sound?
Okay.
Because that might be pertinent. Okay, so I will send you a database that will not get you in trouble, and it will be a line of induced polarization um, in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it.
Yes.
Okay. Francis, do you have software that you and I have in common?
Right now, no, but I can try to use it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Well, Geosoft is it's hard to get a hold of, unfortunately. But anything that anything that Jose and I discuss, you're welcome to tag along with. Okay. So
Do you have your server because you work with that, Jose? Or maybe you have the software to install?
I have the software because there was
oh
this free license or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know what you have? That's a good point. You might have the. Oh my gosh, get out of here! I'm just not having fun today. What we have here is where's my keyboard?
Or maybe Surfer can work.
Surfer, yeah. But here, this is the easiest thing for you guys right now. This Geosoft viewer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's free.
Yeah, this is all free. And I'll copy and I'll just put that copy and paste here. I think if I paste this here, so it'll work. Yeah, that's all free.
Okay.
And that's a very good way to get to, because if you use that free version, you get to understand all of the mouse clicks and the tricks. You just, you can't do certain things, but
Okay.
you can look to see how things are done. I guess that makes more sense, right? So that's good that way. Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, I'll send you that database file, Jose, and then and today if you have any questions, opening or closing, let me
Mhm.
know, and I'll get you to speed. But the idea would be to get you to understand what you're looking at by tomorrow, so we can talk about it. All right.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much. That's 58 minutes and 15 seconds. I apologize. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Thanks
Bye
a
bye.
lot.
Bye bye.